Hey guys, what's happening? It's time for CineFix Now's Roundtable discussion party that happens every Saturday afternoon.
Yeah.
Once again, no roundtable, but I think we discuss that most every week, so we can skip right past that week. What are we talking about this week, guys? Dave, you were kind of in charge this week.
I think it's a few things, as in, like, we know that there's some movies that when we're kids, like, we really love them, but when we watch back, it's either that they don't hold up because, well, they're not good because when we're kids we love them, or they don't hold up because of the way filmmaking has changed.
Right, we're just talking about movies that just don't hold up.
Yeah.
And there's a variety of reasons why movies don't hold up. And also, like, there are movies that you can still love.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They just don't hold up.
Yeah.
You know? So, outside of that, everybody having a good week?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Great. I'm a little under the weather. You can probably hear that.
I couldn't tell, actually.
Which is why you were in charge of putting this roundtable together.
Gotcha.
I thought this was your new superhero voice.
Nope.
Oh, yeah. Is this your Batman voice?
Yeah, I'm Captain Nasal. Great.
Great.
Ready to go?
Ready to
Dave,
go.
you got to give us an example.
All right,
This was
well,
your idea. Give us an example.
I think a strong example for me when it comes to things that I loved as a kid, but watching it again as an adult, I was like, whoa, I missed this.
Knocking me.
No, I didn't see that till I was an
Flight
adult.
of the Navigator.
I haven't seen it in a long time, so I believe it's still good. I believe it's still good. No, it's Temple of Doom.
Yes.
When I was a kid, Temple of Doom was the raddest movie ever, right? You got them falling out of the plane, you have the dude ripping the heart out, you got the bridge scene. It's like the best. Short Round is the raddest, and it's like so awesome. And I watched it again as an adult, and I realized I didn't remember anything of that movie that didn't take place in the Temple of Doom.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, it starts off and I'm like, why are they in a nightclub?
Yeah.
Why is there dancing girls? What? And there was so much in this movie I did not remember. And for me, it's like, when you look as an adult at all the other Indiana Jones movies, of course without the fourth one, because that doesn't really count, when you look at the three prime ones,
happened.
Temple of Doom is definitely the lesser of that trilogy.
I 100% agree. I never liked Temple of Doom, though.
Even as a kid, you
Even
didn't
as a
like
kid, it was
wow.
so scary.
Yeah.
I loved that.
Like, and
that
historically,
depends on just what kind of kid you were,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
what
I was
kind
a
of
big wuss, so.
where that movie caught you in your like nightmare cycle.
yeah, exactly.
Really.
Yeah. I mean, historically, though, like, it was one of the movies that brought about PG-13.
Yes.
Because it was still rated PG, and it's a movie about, like whipping child slaves.
Yeah.
And eating monkey brains and all kinds of weird, and, like, So there's a lot of really tough imagery in that movie. And
Yeah.
as a movie that was rated PG, by today's standards, it's wacky. But it was such a scary movie for me as a kid that I never liked it at all. And then as an adult, I was like, nope, still don't like it.
For me, like the ripping out of the still beating heart, I always thought that was so cool, and so that part stuck with me. So that was what I remembered. Like, I'm the same way, watching it over and seeing that nightclub scene. I'm like, wait, are we watching the right movie? I don't remember any of this.
It's funny too. You watch it and it's clear. You look at Raiders and that movie's sort of made for everybody. And you watch Temple and it's so geared towards children. I mean, everything about from the kid sidekick to the scene where they're running away from the bad guys and it turns into a roller coaster ride, where it feels like they made this specifically to build a ride later. To the monkey brains and the bugs and like everything is so geared towards children. And I guess it worked because as a kid I loved it.
I guess.
But when you watch it now, especially as an adult, or if you're highly advanced like Clint, you never liked it.
Sure.
But it's just
I've always
Highly
been an adult.
advanced
Yeah.
wuss.
Yeah.
but yeah, no, that movie does not hold up at all.
I was smart enough to be scared of scary things.
Now, when you compare it to Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, that's a different story. Then it's not so bad.
I don't know that anybody ever liked Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
No, not
but I
really.
will say this. It happened.
It
Yeah.
did. Yeah.
And you need to recognize
Well,
that
and
it
I feel
happened.
like if I were a kid when Crystal Skull came out and I saw just the select sequences that were like silly but still like the whole getting exploded and then in a refrigerator, I feel like there's something in there that they were going for a kid really liking, but the whole movie was just so like
Well, I feel like it was an old man's version of fun.
It
Totally,
was so
yeah.
So like Temple of Doom at least had like a childlike sense.
Yeah,
of
no. Well,
something,
this was
but,
an
like,
old man's version of fun, and it was making like grandpa jokes.
Yes.
Like trying to get the kids to laugh, but it's been so long since you were a kid that you don't remember what kids find funny, which is fart jokes, by the way.
Yeah.
No, I still like fart jokes. So am I still
then
super
you're
advanced? Or?
Excellently
Philosophy
positioned to
points on that one.
write movies to appeal to kids.
Awesome.
I think the main thing people hated was them shoving Shia down our throat.
Yes.
Like this guy's the new Indiana Jones.
Right.
Deal with it. It's not unlike in a meta way, sort of like the Jaden Smith thing. Like Will Smith's like, this is my son. He's a star now.
Yeah.
This is how I will live forever.
Yeah,
You will
exactly.
take him.
Exactly. We are immortal, and everyone's like, After Earth, I don't think so.
So Raiders obviously holds up. I mean, is there
Number
anything?
one.
What's different about Raiders and Last Crusade that hold up more so than Temple of Doom?
They're not as cheesy.
Yeah, I think
It's the cheese
I think it's
factor?
fewer
I think
dad
so.
jokes.
Those movies don't have any of the like Temple of Doom, let's now all go to the kid power short round stuff, It's like it doesn't pull away from the story that it's telling.
It's just indie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pure indie.
Pure indie.
Yes. Before we needed Sean Connery to crack jokes.
Oh man, but that we.
That was
I didn't
great
even,
though.
I
Don't
didn't
get me
even
wrong.
know we needed Connery to
I
crack
know.
jokes, but we did.
Yeah.
Nothing has ever been made worse by the addition of Sean Connery.
A couple marriages have. I
Yeah.
would say.
Yeah. So true.
Well, we didn't have to watch those in cinema.
yeah, we weren't subjected to this.
It is weird though. I saw Highlander not too long ago again, which is I don't know.
Does Highlander hold up?
No, not really.
not at all.
Actually, not at all.
No.
Yeah.
But was it good to begin with? Did you like it to begin with?
I loved it as a kid.
Okay.
And I think the concepts of Highlander are good. But I watched it again and I was like, oh my god, this is a movie that got greenlit because of like Star Wars. Because
Yeah.
they're doing all this like bad Star Wars like sword fighting
Yeah,
where
it's
everyone's
spin
spinning
move.
around and like their back is facing their enemy like half of the time.
Right.
The movie's got some issues, but it's funny because Sean Connery is
Can't
still
die, McLeod.
he kind of doesn't make sense, and he's playing like a Spaniard,
Yeah.
sort of like Russell Crowe in Gladiator, which is
Yeah.
always. And back then, I guess people didn't care. They just like give him a tan. He's good.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, no big deal.
Well, he's immortal. Who knows? I guarantee you that was excused away by like, well, he's an immortal. Who knows what kind of accent he has?
Yeah.
True.
You know?
Yeah.
I always forget that the immortals are immortals, not Highlanders.
I know.
I
He always
just
calls
refer
them
to everyone.
Highlanders.
Yeah.
I refer to everyone as the Highlanders, and
No,
then people get mad
McLeod
at me.
is the
Like,
Highlander.
I know.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, what else we got? What other movies don't hold up and why?
Oh, when I was a kid, my brother and I insisted on renting The Wizard from the VHS store. Like,
Whatever you say about the Wizard,
Take it easy.
I do not agree with you
look,
because I
that's
love
the thing.
that film.
It's amazing. We rented it like 5 times, and it is in fact like a 92-minute commercial for
Yes,
a
it
Nintendo.
is.
100%, yeah.
The funny thing is, like, that's a terrible idea. We all acknowledge that the idea of making a 92-minute was it theatrically released?
Yes.
Oh, hell
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Like,
Hell yeah. I
theatrically
went as a
released.
kid, and it was sold out the first day, and I had to
believe-
come back.
I
But the
believe
fact
it was
is,
my birthday party. that year.
Everybody,
Oh, that's awesome.
Everybody who went to see it was probably already on board with Nintendo. You're
Oh,
like,
yeah.
oh my god, you can be a hero by just being really, really good at Donkey Kong.
Well-
the world is the best.
You know what the great part about that movie is? The first 10 minutes is a shot of a road,
So
and
true.
what a kid walks down the road at some point.
Yeah, and then it's like
But,
like an
it's like-
entire song,
Yeah.
and like with the credits.
Yeah, it's the most boring shot of all time, and they just hold on it for. I think it actually might be 10 minutes.
Look, you
I'm
guys,
not-
we need to hit our theatrical runtime.
Yeah. Yeah,
don't
it
have
wound up
enough
being 70 minutes instead of 72. So like, I don't know, pull out that opening shot.
This is like religious fervor for me because no matter what you say about Wizard,
amazing.
I will love it as much as I did before I walked into the
That's the
screen.
thing. I have rewatched it and I'm still like, wow, I kind of love this.
Yeah.
But like objectively, I'm like, there is nothing particularly good about this movie except Fred Savage. Like,
Yeah.
How about Lucas and he
And his
loves
power
his power glove?
Oh,
it's
Okay.
so bad.
Do you see how rad he was at Rad
Okay.
Racing with that power
The
glove?
Power Glove. Just a quick little sidebar, if we can, about the Power Glove as
Yeah.
being the most useless
Yes.
gaming peripheral of all time.
It didn't work. Yeah.
It didn't do anything, but man, did it look cool.
Oh,
in that
that's the
movie.
thing. It's the number one example of
still want
fashion
one.
over function.
Yeah,
100%.
it was terrible.
The other thing
Yeah.
is, I think
Okay,
we have to
back to
disclaimer with The Wizard is that this is a hugely generational discussion we're having right
Yeah,
now.
we're
Like,
dating ourselves for sure. There are movies that I refuse to watch again.
Right,
Because I
totally.
have such a lovely little experience with that movie in my head that I don't want to touch it again. Little Monsters. You guys remember?
Yeah, Howie Mandel.
I don't even want to talk about it
I was
anymore.
thinking
Like,
about that.
done
I'm
with
like,
this part of the conversation because, like, I don't want to hear about how bad it sucks. Because I'm sure it does. But man,
Nope.
do I love that movie.
Have any of us
Nope.
rewatched Little Monsters after
No.
the age of 15?
No.
I refuse
we're
to believe.
all-
Yeah,
Don't.
it doesn't suck.
We're all
Exactly.
It's the greatest movie of all time, and you should probably all watch it.
Just let it
but-
live in
but
your
if you-
head as the greatest movie of all
All
time.
you 8-year-olds
Yeah.
out there, watch Little Monsters.
Little
Yeah.
Monsters. So there are movies that, nostalgia-wise, we can sort of admit as grown-ups they're not good movies, but we still love them.
Actually, The Wizard is for me 100%.
The Wizard is good. So
I agree.
then I think there are movies that don't hold up, kind of through no fault of their own, because we just don't make movies like that anymore.
I'll agree with that a little bit.
And either like technology-wise or like culturally, like because I'm a big Bond guy, and if you go back and watch like Dr. No. And Dr. No was like the action movie. Like it created, not even created, but it was like right on that first wave of like action movies, right? There's a scene in Dr. No where he's just calmly walking across the lobby of his hotel. And the music is going like, ba-da, 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 like it's super, I mean, he's just like strolling through the frame. And it's just like, what are we doing here? Like,
Clint,
what is this?
That shows the intensity of his intention.
Yeah, I
okay?
guess, man. But it's funny because we don't do that anymore.
Yeah, but the movie still holds up. That's the thing.
It does and it doesn't. Like it's not like it's a bad movie. We just don't do movies like that anymore.
Yeah, but it's not like one of those where you watch it and it's like, and you cringe like often.
No.
Yeah.
It is. I will say though, like it's harder to revisit those movies though.
Yeah.
It can be a little
Kind
bit,
of.
yeah.
For me, it's actually the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies, which I freaking love the first two.
Yeah.
I love them so much. But recently, going back and rewatching Spider-Man 2, which has always in my mind been like really what started the superhero thing, like as respectable movies.
It's a lot of people's best comic book movie ever.
Oh
Because-
yeah, even George R. R. Martin like said that
Yeah.
like recently.
Because there's so much great about it, but when you're rewatching it now, there's so much cheesy about it too
Yeah.
that I just must not have remembered.
All of those movies had a weird tongue-in-cheek thing. Was it the first one or the second one where he's walking down the street and a street musician starts playing the Spider-Man song?
Oh, I think that was the
First?
first one.
I think it was the
yeah.
first. So like, there's always a campiness
Yeah,
to Sam Raimi. I mean, all of
Yeah.
Sam Raimi's
That's the
stuff.
Yeah.
that's the problem. Is like we all accepted his style at the time, and really before that, I mean, superhero movies were the first X-Men movie, and the Batman movies that half of them were horrible. So like Spider-Man helped kind of create the superhero world we have now with all these
Yeah.
movies, and so we all just kind of accepted that it was good and it looked really good. But you watch it now and like a lot of them have come a long way when it comes to aesthetically, like the form, because Raimi's like whole like zoo thing like that, like it kind of aged out a little bit watching it now. Like it's okay for Evil Dead,
Yes.
and for like a low budget movie like that because
Right.
it's fun and adds it's dynamic, but. Yeah, watching back the original Spider-Man, though I gotta be honest, when I saw the first Spider-Man in theaters, I remember noticing, this is a little different, but this goes with the whole idea of like, things, well, listen, some of the CGI was real bad. And I recognize
That's
that
another
even
thing.
when I saw it.
Yeah.
And
Can
that's sort of
we
the thing.
talk about the sweet spot for bad VFX that was like 95 through 98?
Yeah,
when they
it
they
was
thought
pretty
that
bad.
their VFX were so good, and so
Oh,
they
it was
overused
terrible.
them. and-
Armageddon was on the other day. Armageddon looks like garbage. Like at the time it was amazing, but Armageddon looks terrible.
Yeah.
And I actually think that personally, and this might piss some people off, but I think that's actually part of the big reason why Spider-Man 2 is put on such a pedestal, is I believe that there was a giant jump between Spider-Man 1 and Spider-Man 2 in CGI.
Yeah.
When you look at Spider-Man 2, Doc Ock stuff looks unreal.
It
It looks
is, yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
And there isn't as much Uncanny Valley as there was in the first movie. And I think that's a big part of why everyone was like,
And also the physics of people jumping around took a big thing. So it's
Yeah.
like it didn't look like a cartoon than
Yeah.
a human. Like it was a little more seamless.
yeah.
And it's like I still love the movies and watching them. I still get
Yeah,
enjoyment out of
yeah.
them, but at the same time, they just don't hold up for me the way I thought they would.
Yeah. I always wonder, and this is dangerous territory, but I always wonder if we could objectively look at the first Star Wars movie,
Oh, yeah.
how good would it actually be?
I feel like we're in a room of
I'm
not.
going to go ahead and pour a pin on this grenade and just jump.
I genuinely believe that there's a reason Star Wars has always been held as like the hero's journey storytelling example in all of my film studies classes.
Yeah.
So I'm not like, I think that on that fundamental level it will hold up.
It's very basic and very archetypal
like
in a lot of really positive
That's the fear
ways.
that I have if I go back and watch Little Monsters, that like the story's gonna make
None of it makes any sense.
because the entire thing was like, for all we know, it was just like an acid trip for small children, right? I guess objectively, like the Wookiee costume might be completely ridiculous.
Not even that.
I don't think it's
I mean, they were
no.
the sets were. I mean, it was a cheap movie.
cardboard.
It really was, and you can tell.
And you
when
can
look
tell.
At, like, stormtrooper costumes that falling apart while
Which
they're running
that's
around.
not even sort of what I'm talking. Like, because Luke is real whiny.
Oh, I hate Luke.
The only person that I give a shit about at all in Star Wars is Han Solo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I love the movie. Like, I don't not love the movie, but like objectively, how does it hold up? I mean, but I do think Empire and Return of the Jedi are really where the series hit its stride.
Certainly Empire. I mean, Empire's amazing.
Yeah. And even Return of the Jedi, I think, is made in more of an accessible sort of filmmaking style. Like, it feels looser. It feels like there are people there that I care about more than A New Hope does. And I think also it's safe to sort of look back at that now in light of George Lucas's other work and be like, no, there you go.
But I think it's funny because I think when it comes to this topic we're talking about, Star Wars is the #1 movie for most people in the world, where like their nostalgia will ultimately always beat out any sort of like actual look at it and go like, okay, I'm a rational adult, I'm looking at this movie. It's good, it's got foundation, but it's not a great film. Most people will say, F you, I would kill you if it was allowed.
It's not a bad thing necessarily that nostalgia keeps a movie alive or it keeps you loving a movie.
Yeah.
I mean, if nothing else, what it says is that movie had something about it that made you love it at a certain time in your life.
It also touched on a lot of different things that can appeal to a lot of different people. Like it had a little Han Leia romance. It had a little sword fighting adventure. And I think that is initially what hooked us all into it. But then, we're never going to be able to look at Star Wars, the original trilogy, and be like, this is objectively good, bad, or indifferent, because now there's so much other stuff piled on top of it that there are people who, identify as the rebels or like the Empire, they want to be, they're so fascinated by the mythology of the Jedi that they've read their own narrative into it. Yeah. Whether or not you've actually read the expanded universe, I guarantee if you love Star Wars as a kid between 5 and 25, you probably had your own little headcanon expanded universe.
Yeah, exactly.
It's funny though, because I always have trouble talking about Star Wars because I'm not a big fanboy of Star Wars, but at the same time I think it is, for our modern culture, kind of the most significant film that kind of melded where we are today. I mean, we would not have blockbuster summers with superhero movies all the time without Star Wars. Right. I mean, that's what it is. It's a big, fun, action superhero movie. It's very important, but at the same time, I think that when you put things on pedestals, it's not always healthy.
I mean, it's not always a bad thing too, because I think there's something. If we put something on a pedestal, there's a reason.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, and whether or not 30, 40, whatever years down the road, we look back and it's like, it wasn't a very good movie. It's like, that's honestly not why we put it on the pedestal.
Right.
I mean.
There's another thing, though, to mention is the other reason why this ties in nostalgia so nefariously is the fact that it was the first movie that had so much merchandising.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, I think everyone at some point in their house has a Star Wars cup, a toy, something with Star Wars on it. It was the first time that really happened.
That's another interesting thing, because I think for all of us, I don't know if any of us were alive when the first one came out.
No.
And so
very much no.
Yeah. And so, we grew up where that merchandising had already happened, and like you said, people did have the glasses from McDonald's or whatever, or toys or whatever already around.
I mean, because growing up in the 80s, I was born the year before Return of the Jedi came out, and there was no Netflix, there was no iTunes, so I don't even know where I saw Return of the Jedi for the first time. Because I remember the first VCR that we bought. Mm-hmm. So I don't, I don't know how it was so pervasive that even when it was difficult to go and find movies that weren't in the theaters. Like, I never remember a time where I didn't have the Star Wars movies memorized.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've covered nostalgia. We've covered they just don't make them like they used to. Are there any other... I mean, and obviously there are movies that don't hold up because they're just bad.
Yeah.
I think the VFX thing that we touched briefly on the VFX.
That can be rough.
Again, guys, I really can't stress enough how bad Armageddon is. Like, honestly, it's worth... Go watch the first 10 minutes of Armageddon. It's probably on Netflix. Watch the first 10 minutes of Armageddon. So bad.
Yeah.
It looks terrible. And this came out, what, 3 or 4 years after Jurassic Park. Jurassic Park holds up in every conceivable way.
Absolutely.
It looks amazing.
Like, the VFX-wise, everything looks spectacular.
Actually, Burton's first Batman movie, it's not bad, but I remember it being like one of the most amazing things I've ever seen as a kid, and watching it again as an adult, I actually find, in many ways, I prefer the second one, which is weird.
Yeah,
but the second one...
I don't think the second one is nearly as good as the first one.
It's not, but I think it's when Tim Burton became the filmmaker that he was supposed to be, was the second one, because it's such this weird gothic fairy tale, and I think Danny DeVito is actually far better than people give him credit for. Michelle Pfeiffer was amazing, and you know, it was a convoluted plot, but it was so dark, and I feel like ultimately it's slightly more Batman than the first one.
I gotta disagree with you. I gotta say, rewatching the first Batman, I kind of I appreciated so much more in it that I didn't even realize was there as a kid.
Really?
I think it's real solid. This has something to do with the Batman movies too. Is when you get a little distance from the movies, the bulk of the movie goes away.
Yes.
You remember like the iconic things that happened in the movies.
Yep.
You don't remember the huge chunks of screen time in between those. This is another movie that I watched the other day. Was This Is Spinal Tap.
Oh, yeah.
And Spinal Tap
Great movie.
is like, as far as comedy goes, like movies owe a lot to This Is Spinal Tap, right? But you're like thinking back to all the great jokes, all the great one-liners. There's a lot of space between them. It is a really slow movie, and it's pretty short too, but it feels pretty long watching it now. To the point I have no less respect for Spinal Tap. Like I love the movie, and you have to put it, you know, high on your list of best comedies of all time because of what it did for comedy. But it's harder to watch than you remember.
Is it one that's just harder to watch on a second watching because you're waiting for those jokes,
Maybe.
or is it one that's actually
maybe that one doesn't hold up because it can't live up to its own sort of reputation in a way.
There's a lot of that. I also think the problem with Spinal Tap is it is I do think it's genius, but I think the issue is like it's all very much the same. Like it's very homogenous. Like
it's
they're
a little
they don't really
one-note.
go to a lot of places, and the whole joke is that they're stupid, and that's literally every joke in it, just like slightly different. And so like it's great, and it's a funny portrayal of the rock music time, but at the same time,
But
it's
I'd rather
not,
rewatch Waiting for Guffman or Best in Show.
Yeah, there's. I mean, I understand that, and there's really no action. There's nothing to like kind of break up like the just one camera following them where they're now saying something else stupid.
Yeah. So we covered nostalgia, we covered don't make them like they used to, we covered effects, we covered it was so good it doesn't live up to itself even. That's kind of that's a little bit of a stretch, not gonna lie, but I'm glad we covered it. All right, guys, well, let us know what you think down in the comments below. What are some movies, in your opinion, that just don't hold up, and why? And you know what? Go ahead and chime in about the Star Wars thing, because look, we're having conversations here. We gotta have the conversations, right?
Yeah.
I mean...
Conversations, flame wars.
Yeah, whatever. Look, point is, let us know what you think about it in the comments down below. Click like and subscribe, and come back next time for more CineFix now.
Send Clint all your Star Wars fan fiction.
Yeah, no, I want to read it because I love Star Wars. I'm into it. I'm watching the Clone Wars series with my kid.
Nice.
She doesn't have a clue what's going on. She loves Ahsoka.
That's
she loves the
raising
colors.
Yeah.
The colors and noises on
Ahsoka
screen.
that's what she's gonna be for Halloween, I think.
Nice.
Aww.
That's how you raise a kid right.
Yeah.